In the 80s and 90s, 9 Pound Hammer were pillars of the Kentucky underground with their unique mix of hardcore punk and outlaw country. One of the pioneering bands of the cowpunk movement, they quickly grew in popularity not just in Kentucky, but around the country and around the world. They reached heights most local bands can only dream of. But drugs, alcohol, and personality differences also led to severely low points. They've had their fair share of ups and downs, but 40 years later, they're working harder than ever as they gear up for an Australian tour. They just released a brand new EP, Too Outlaw for Outlaw Country, along with a new biography on the bookstands. Their lead vocalist never fails to bring a good time with him wherever he goes with his infectious onstage energy and a truly unique voice. He's here with me now, so let's put some gravy on it and welcome to the 859 Rewind, Mr. Scott Luallen.
What's up?
Scott, thank you so much for coming out here.
Thank you. That was nice. Thanks. Well done.
Thank you, man. There is so much to get to. I just read the book. It's called Put Some Gravy on It, 9 Pound Hammer, The Mud, Blood, and 40 Years of 9 Pound Hammer. That's available now.
41 now, almost.
41 now, yes. You can get that on Amazon or I guess anywhere.
It's out there for sure.
I read that, and there's some really, really crazy stories in it.
Yeah, they didn't even have all the crazy stories.
I mean, how could you in 40 years? But it was interesting to me, you and Blaine Cartwright, you go back to childhood.
Yeah.
10 years old, you guys, when you met. And you're like family, brothers. It reminded me, I think there was an analogy in the book where you were Johnny and Joey Ramone.
Pretty
to me,
much.
It reminded me of Steven Tyler and Joe Perry, the Toxic Twins.
That too.
Right?
Yeah.
Where it's like you've got these moments of like intense love, but then other moments of...
Can't live with them, can't live without them.
Right? And 9 Pound Hammer really just rocketed from these meager start in Owensboro.
Yeah.
And just went international.
It's wild, but destined to happen, I think. You know, once, I don't know, sometimes I look at it, I'm like, I can't really take credit for it. I don't know what that, it's just, it was just laid, you know, you look back on it and you see like it was just laid out. You know, we just played our role. I don't know how to describe it. You know, it was just the things that lined up in our lives that put us in a position to do it. It just, and I don't want to get too esoteric on you, but you know, I mean, but.
Kismet. It sounds like Kismet.
Well, yeah. It was almost had to be done. I don't know how to describe it. It just lined up that way.
So you knew from when you guys first started that you had something special?
Yeah. I mean, so we played our second show ever was at the Ross Theater in 1985 in Evansville. And it was our headlining show. We'd opened up for this other local band at Evansville. So, and that was kind of crazy. And I'd never been so scared in all my life. I was getting ready to puke in the lobby and stuff. So we played this headlining show, and it was, you know, we weren't very good, but it went really well, you know, and it was like, oh man, okay. There's no other, you know, I've tried to recapture that through drugs and alcohol and everything else, sex, drugs and all that, but there's nothing to recapture that when you have that connection through that music. And then we played another show at this VFW, that's in the book, I think, for the Kentucky Wesleyan football team, their after season party, straight out of a movie, man. We're in this roadhouse, VFW, out in the woods. And I finagled this with a buddy of mine who was the quarterback of the team, John Hillbilly Hill, who I used to party with. My neighbor, you know, grew up with him. He, you know, let us play this thing. So we did. And so we have these songs. We have Redneck Romance. Well, we called it Davis County Romance. And a few of these originals, but, you know, all these covers. We kick it off with Folsom Prison, our version of Folsom Prison, which, you know, turns into kind of a thrash song. And I just said, yeah, hey, if y'all don't like this, pull the plug, just don't beat us up or throw bottles. And my sister and a friend got out there in front of everybody. I mean, there's 200 people crammed in this place. And it was magical. It just went so well. It was just one of those things like these jock rednecks were getting into this kind of, you know, semi-hardcore punk kind of stuff we were playing, you know, Ramones covers,
right.
Wild Thing, you know, Eddie Cochran, Come On Everybody. And afterwards, I remember just looking at Blaine, you know, we're standing outside, drenched in sweat, going, man, we got something. It was just one of those deals, unspoken, just looking at each other like, okay, this is it, you know. And nothing's going to stop us, kind of thing. It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do.
And nothing really did. I mean,
No.
So you went from Evansville, Indiana. And
That's where we had to play. I mean, we played a few, we played that show in Owensboro, that VFW, but that's where we played. Then there was another theater we used to play called the Alhambra, and that was a big, so that's where we cut our teeth, yeah.
Now, I really badly want to get into your popularity in Europe.
Yeah.
But I want to wait for a
Sure.
minute. First, let's go to Lexington, Kentucky. Obviously, that's what this show is all
Yeah.
about. Around what year? Was it in the 90s where you guys relocated?
We got up here 87, roughly. I mean, maybe late 86, 87 is like, okay, we've outgrown that. Let's try something else. My dad lived in Frankfurt. I've been here some. I went to college in 80, flunked out of UK in 82, 83. Just knew there was stuff going on. I was at Transient 85, flunked out of there too, ruined my family's name. But I knew there was a little scene because I'd been to a few shows.
What do you remember about the Lexington scene?
It was at the corner. It was it was like a convenience store on the corner where where all the places come and go on next to the old cut corner. There's like
sure,
a taco
South
place.
Limestone and Euclid
So
Avenue.
there was a place there. I can't remember it right now, and I saw this band, and then I saw a band at Elemental P. So I knew there was a scene, Cafe Elemental P, and I was like, well, let's go to Lexington. So we, like Beverly Hillbillies, loaded up the truck and came up here, and we got this house on Bassett Avenue, which later got condemned. Me, Bart, Bart Artman was our bass player, Blaine, and Toby Myrick, and in this crappy house that had no heat, and later got condemned, and we're just out there slogging it. And we start playing at Great Scott's Depot, Tuesday night, every Tuesday night. We played anything, anywhere, that's where we started off. Of course, bumped, there was pushback and rivalries. The locals were like, who are these guys? And all that, normal stuff. But, Lawrence Tarpey came in and saved the day. Who's in this little fanzine. He's like, we were called the Black Sheep for a little bit.
Okay.
Then later got changed over to 9 Pound Hammer. 9 Pound Hammer was the original name. I came up with that. Just fits. The Merle Travis song. Elvis did it. A bunch of people covered that song. Bill Monroe and all that. So we were Black Sheep for a little bit, and then we changed it back to actually another name, the Raw Recruits, which is pretty funny. Good for a hardcore band. Anyway, Lawrence mentions this in this fanzine, which kind of gave us the blessing of the king,
Sure.
And still, there was still some pushback, but we just were slogging it out at Great Scott's. We played the Bottom Line was around back then, which later became the Rockledge.
Yeah, we learned that a couple weeks ago when Dave Butler was on the show. I want to stop you because you mentioned Lawrence Tarpey.
Yeah.
He was in the band Active Ingredients.
Active Ingredients. So that was like one of the first shows we ever saw down at Castlewood. It was a Parks and Rec thing. We rolled into this show, wild as hell, and just mind blown. Love them.
Let's listen to some Active Ingredients right now.
That.
Give people a taste of that.
With a smile.
Active Ingredients.
Yeah.
How about that?
Man, a band that was, ahead of their time in a sense, especially around here, but I thought they could have probably made it big. They almost, they had a thing on SST and were getting some traction and, again, just internal stuff for them too. But man, what a crew, Kenny Realman, Hillman, and Don Ho on drums, and Brian Moore on bass. We stole him later. Well, they had broken up, and Brian later played with us on our first record, man. And great guy and great songwriter. We played one of his songs, Looking for Someone, and man, they were just great. We'd always, make sure you go see. We played with them we did a road trip to Nashville with them in '87, and on a Sunday night, and played for about 15 people at a place called Elliston Square. And there's some pictures of it. It was legendary. Rolling out in our cars, driving to Nashville and played this show.
So what are some of your other memories of being in Lexington around that time, early 90s in Lexington? Nationally, underground music was sort of becoming popular.
Oh, yeah.
It was becoming mainstream.
Yeah. Velvet Elvis was making noise.
That's right.
Stealing Horses, I think, was when she, doing stuff on another level, kind of. I mean, there was some buzz going around.
But 9 Pound Hammer, you guys were...
Well, we were on a different strata of that universe, so we did our first record on Wanghead Records up in Detroit, this lunatic named Lynn Putch, and super underground, like the Gories. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're on that label. A band called Elvis Hitler, which, of course, with that name generated a lot of stuff. Super underground, rockabilly, grunge before there was grunge kind of deal with the Gories. They later became the Dirt Bombs. Did our first record there, and he was so amazing. He sent out like 250 physical copies. We got reviews from Billboard, Goldmine, all the British press, NME, Sounds. We were on. John Peel of the BBC was playing Redneck Romance on his show every week.
So you from the very beginning, you had designs on being more than just a Lexington band. Even, no matter how popular you were here.
Of course, designs, yes, but I mean, of course, that dream, perhaps unrealistically. But then you had like a guy like Lynn Putch Wanghead, who was so amazing on his end. That record's great and everything. The songs are great. It sounded like crap. But, and it was newish. I mean, Jason, we were like the bastard child of Jason Scorchers and the Ramones, but totally, again, our own thing. They were on a different strata. Again, I just call it different level of music that's college radio, but then there was this other underground, which later, like Crip Records and some of the stuff out of Seattle, Sub Pop, kind of melded together. Super Suckers and a band called the Devil Dogs out of New York, and the Ronch Hands and people like John Spencer and things like that then went over to Europe and tapped into that thing. And there's a whole circuit over there that's still alive today. That, I mean, it mirrors what happens here too. What's going on in the 90s and, in the States. I mean, there was a thriving club scene, of course, and all that. You would go to Seattle, New York and all that. But and with CMJ, like you'd have the CMJ Fest and things like that, which we played. So you could get into that, and then the other bands like the New Bomb Turks came along. You've heard of them, right? They're out of Columbus. They sold 50,000 records because of Maximum Rock and Roll. They had a great review in there. But 50,000 copies on vinyl back then was huge.
Yeah.
We did 10,000 in Europe of Smokin' Taters, which is still a massive amount, and allowed us to go and tour Europe all the time and all that stuff. And so there was just this, again, like, Velvet Elvis was tapping into like maybe 120 minutes kind of, on MTV.
Yeah.
There was that, bands bopping up into that. And then below that still that maybe because I don't even, just not as accessible, that never, Babes in Toyland and I'm trying to just think of some of these, like we played with the Melvins one time. We played with the Melvins and Babes in Toyland in New Jersey at, Maxwell's in Hoboken. But that was normal, and just you had the college radio thing, and then major labels were kind of coming in and picking out the ones and and exploring that and see if it would hit, So you had that, it was a glorious time.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Georgia Satellites one night at Bogart's, followed up by the Replacements. Speaking of which, Replacements, huge,
On the same bill?
No, back to back
okay.
though. But then,
okay,
the Paul Westerberg jumping on stage with Georgia Satellites, that was just a normal kind of thing, And so you had that. It was just this glorious mix.
Yeah, it was nationwide.
Yeah.
It wasn't just in Seattle or whatever. It was blowing up everywhere.
Absolutely.
Let me play a 9 Pound Hammer song from that time period, if I'm not mistaken. Run Fat Boy Run, that came out in 1994.
Yeah, it's 94. So I mean, that's 3 albums in, and we're professionals now
at this point. All right, let's listen to Run Fat Boy Run. Run Fat Boy Run.
You know what whistleberries are?
No, what are whistleberries?
My grandmother used to say that. My meemaw from Columbia, Tennessee. Whistleberries are black-eyed peas because they made you whistle. Get it?
No. They made you
Musical fruit.
Not right. The more you eat, the more you toot.
Yeah, Run Fat Boy Run. Later got on Tony Hawk Game, I think number 2, and that propelled us into the not quite. I call it A- league.
It's funny. It's almost a cliche to hear bands go, "Oh well, we're huge in Europe,"
Yeah.
But you guys really are. You went to Europe.
Yeah. I mean,
how much? First of all, that takes guts to get on a plane and go to Europe and play, doesn't it? Or
yeah, it was insane back then. There's no internet stuff. I mean, our guy. So we, look, we're on fumes though. We're like 92. Wanghead had that first record. We slogged it out. Driving. We were doing these Canadian tours in my crappy van that's in the book and all that, and. We're living hand to mouth, seriously, sleeping next to cat litter boxes on people's floors and all that, just banging it out, man. Right? I mean,
right, sure. What a lot of bands do.
Yeah, I mean that's what you do.
It's miserable. I went on a 4-day tour one time.
4 days,
and I was like, I'm so glad that I failed as a musician because this is not for me. Sleeping on floors and
now
stuff.
you gotta. But here's the thing: what fuels you is these great shows. I mean, that's the thing. So you just roll into. I'm just trying to think. I mean, wherever. Like I remember one time we drove. This was Matt, Rob Holzman, Matt Bartholomew, maybe Smoking Taters era, and we go down to Florida in our cars. And we have this show in Gainesville, Florida, that people wouldn't let us get off stage. They'd never heard of us, but they just, we're a fun band, and we just connected. And we're just like boom, 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 and we still have friends down there today. I mean, that's what. Makes sleeping, wherever in a cat litter box okay. I mean, so.
But surely you also had shows where you're playing in front of 2 people.
Absolutely.
That's not discouraging.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. I mean, it's chalk it up. It's just price to be paid, Greensboro, North Carolina, on a Tuesday night. Yeah, 2 people, and yeah, that's the way it happens.
So then why did you go to Europe?
Okay, so this is like 91. We'd done this Mule Bite demoed at Barracks. We're still wanting to do it. We're, there's hope. But, again, we're just kind of on fumes a little bit. And then Blaine gets this, his girlfriend gets a fax at the Transy Library. That's where she worked. This guy from Germany wants to call you, So we get this call from Tim Warren, Crypt Records, legendary Crypt Records, if you don't know about it. So this guy has a catalog. He has a record store in Hamburg, Germany. And a label. This is where the Cramps, go shop for records. This is where all the aficionados go, and it's this hip, super cool label. He done his first inaugural band was a band called the Ronchans out of New York. They have a good claim of the first cowpunk record, even before Jason. It's cowpunky. And so we get this call. He's like, hey, I want to do record. We're like, yeah, of course. We go up to Brooklyn, Coyote Studios, bang out Smoking Taters. We didn't know what we were doing, it sounds way better than the first one. We got these good songs. We're going to bring you to Europe. The Ronchans had blazed this trail. Again, there's no internet, off the beaten path, Spain, Czech Republic, all the, so we end up doing 56 shows in 60 days. And
unbelievable.
It was, and just boom, 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 boom every night. And I mean, there wasn't a bad show. That's the thing. We play like youth centers in the Black Forest of Germany, on a Monday night, and there'd be 250 people there and just hanging from the rafters, these huge German guys singing, feeling kind of froggy, and people were, they'd not really heard this. I mean, so we're bringing in this Jerry Lee Lewis, kind of energy with the Ramones and, banging this stuff out and blowing people's minds.
What is it about the European audience?
Yeah.
Do you think that they
revere American music. I mean, it's our number one, they just revere it, especially the early rock and roll, Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash.
Sure.
So we're bringing in literally Jerry Lee Lewis songs and Johnny Cash along with our own, and just this brew of all this.
And 9 Pound Hammer, you're playing traditional rock and roll, like 50s rock and roll, but you're doing it with Ramones, 9 Pound Hammer
we're playing
punk rock energy.
Yeah, we're playing, Ramones foundation, throwing in my voice, and then Blaine and I grew up on country music, so we have this, it's just this natural thing. It just what we gravitate toward. It's just been imprinted on us as kids. And here we have it. I mean, again, it's just as natural as can be, And when we first started, especially Toby, he liked doing kind of like straight hardcore stuff. We were kind of labeled a hardcore band. And we would do that. We did it fine, but our natural thing was like writing Redneck Romance and Crawdaddy and these songs like, Barefoot County, these silly road songs, that are revved up. It's just revved up country. I mean, really in bluegrass.
Yeah, it's revved up country.
That's what, when we sit down to write songs, they all start off as country songs, basically. And then we like, should we keep it country? Should we rev it up? That's what
I'm going to ask you an impossible question.
Yeah.
What do you think the single very best show you ever performed was?
We just did one in Spain at a festival in this village where they filmed The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And we roll in, and it looks like this, it's like this town square of a stage the size of we're like, is this really it? And they were like, oh, don't worry, there'll be 3,000 people here tonight. So anyway, we played this show, and it was magical. They were giving us a soccer chant at the end, and nice. We did. I made sure we had done this covers record, Rock and Roll Radio, and Rock and Roll Radio by the Ramones.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
And I was just like, we got to make sure we play that. We did Dead Flowers, but Rock and Roll Radio, I knew the Spaniards would love that. They love their sing along stuff. So as encore at the end, we did that and Dead Flowers, and people just lost their minds, and they knew our stuff too. I mean, there were old school people, because we toured Spain.
When was this show? This was recently?
This was just 2 years ago.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I don't know if we'll top that one.
Okay.
But we just had a show at the Vera. So, like, 1992, we fly in, again, no internet. We fly in to Holland, Amsterdam on, I don't know, a $500 ticket. And we go to this place called the Vera Club in Groningen. The premier rock club in Europe. Neil Young played there, Nirvana played there, everybody's played there. And we don't even get a night's sleep. We just go right there. But we're 25 years old. And we go and play this show, and they've been playing some stuff, Long Gone Daddy, and some stuff it's like a club. They're like members of a club, but other people can come in. But it's really cool setup. And we've been playing, they've been playing us, so they knew us. But we roll in there, and we ended up playing for almost 2 hours. We played every song. We have it recorded, and they wouldn't let us leave the stage. So that one probably might be the one.
Okay.
And there's a bunch. I mean, there was some Rockledge and Linus shows that are in the top 10. I mean, there's video of that too, and people are losing their minds.
Yeah.
Like 2000, like when we came back. And so you had all these kids that were, skateboarders and Tony Hawk and this and these young punks, and there's footage of that. So those are up there. There's other Spain shows, other Germany shows. Like we had a show in Japan that was off the chain too. So, I mean, we've had magical shows. The Double Door in Chicago stands out.
What's the worst show that you ever played? We have
the one in the book where Brian crashes and burns But actually, it was the worst, greatest show because it was a spectacle. Him and Rob drank a bunch of whiskey before this show in a cornfield outside of Evansville, Indiana. Greensboro Tuesday night.
Just because there's no one there.
Yeah.
There's one story in the book where your bass player Earl Krim, who is now your rhythm and lead guitar player, smashes a Les Paul that didn't belong to him, and which led him to getting kicked out of the band.
Yeah.
This is so hard for me to believe because if you know Earl, and I know Earl, he is the sweetest, most gentle person. Like, I can't even picture him doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just I wasn't doing real good then. He wasn't doing real good then. It was a great show. We were down at the Dame. I mean, I think, and it wasn't on purpose. It was just negligence.
Yeah.
That was after the show. It was Brian. It
wasn't on stage.
It was Brian Polito's Gold Top.
I see.
And it was just, again, that 2000. I was not, the captain of the ship wasn't doing too well.
Right.
And I mean, we were still pulling off shows and things were going good. we were still doing records, still going to Europe and all that. But I mean, it was the clock, the time bomb was ticking. But yeah, I mean, but that was still a good show.
I don't want to get deep into that. I mentioned it in the intro.
Yeah.
I mean, you struggled with alcohol and substances, and everybody in the band. I mean, it's a rock and roll cliche kind of thing.
Yep.
But it led to the band like breaking up and getting back together, and them doing some shows without you, which that had to sting.
That was my wife had to go to the hospital early for her pregnancy, so it was just the way it was.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a tour lined up. I might have survived that. I wasn't doing good then either.
Yeah.
I might have survived that tour, but
let me just say, I think you're doing really good now.
15 years of continuous sobriety.
It's funny for me because I've known you a long time, and I think I knew you back in those days, but just sort of tangentially. But I think we sort of became friends about the time that our daughters, about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And our daughters were friends because they went to day camp together or something.
I ran into your wife and Violet at the park with my daughter Lola.
And for me, you're just like... Just this sweet dad, you're the only person that's ever going to be on the show that I actually rode a roller coaster with. You know what I mean?
And it's hard. But the Holiday World,
yeah. I can't even imagine you like being so belligerent. You seems like you've got it. You really got it together. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah. Well, it was life or death, no kidding. But here I am. Had a lot of help,
Let's speak of life or death. Let's talk about your bass player Mark Hendricks. We jump to recent events.
Yeah.
And I want to go back a little bit again and talk some more about Europe. But Mark, since we're on the subject, your bass player, Mark Hendricks, got into a motorcycle accident. That wasn't even his fault. He got hit by a guy that ran a red light.
Yep.
Can you give me an update on Mark's health?
I mean, we're looking at a long recovery, I think, minimum 6-8 months. We'll see what's going on. I mean, he's hopefully he makes it back, and it's his job, of course.
Okay.
And we'll see. I mean, we just
But there's hope. I mean, he seems
of course.
like he's.
I mean, of course.
I talked to him recently. He told me that his goal is to walk by the end of the year. So he's got a goal for himself. I think it's
but that
achievable.
shows you the severity of the accident.
Yeah.
I mean, it's he's got a challenge ahead of him. And so, but it's all good. We're just there for him, and we just did a little impromptu video benefit for him before we went to Europe. So the guy that wrote the book, Ashley Bills, our merch guy, is also a bass player, so he filled in for Mark. It was one of those deals, and we were able to do this benefit for Mark down at the Lantern, and there's GoFundMe now, and we'll probably do our Christmas show. We do a little Christmas extravaganza coming up in December, and we'll give some proceeds to that to Mark also. But he's a woodworker. It's just it's pretty tragic, honestly, as far as what is threatening with his music and his livelihood. He's just a super talented guy and very industrious, and he's got tons of support, and he knows that.
And he's got the right attitude. He's going to make a full recovery. I think it's awesome that you and Blaine are, for all intents and purposes, you and Blaine are 9 Pound Hammer.
I would agree with that.
But the other members of the band, it's not like they get excluded. They contribute. And Mark wrote Street Chicken.
Yeah, he wrote
Is that
Street
right?
Chicken.
Let's listen to Street Chicken.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is off the album When the Shit Goes Down. And I love Street Chicken. And I didn't know this was a Mark Hendricks song.
Yeah,
and
Mark
I'm like, wow, listen to this one. Street Chicken.
Yeah.
That's
Love that
fun,
song.
man. That's really cool. I want to go real quick. I want to go back to Europe.
Yeah.
There was something in the book that just blows my mind.
I want to go back to Europe, too.
And you will. I have no doubt. This Green Day.
Yeah, it opened up for us.
Opens for 9 Pound Hammer before they hit it big.
Yeah, so there's what I'm saying. So you have, they're on lookout. You have all these, and so they got plucked. They're great. I mean, I really like Green Day, and they looked the part and were able to parlay that into
superstardom.
Yeah, and so we're in Bremen, Germany, and they open up for us, and Billy Joe does Sweet Home Alabama with us, and Rock and Roll Night, which we do as encores, back in the day. And
he got up on stage with you.
Yeah. And then Trey Cool came in at 5 o'clock in the morning and stole our hot Beck's beer on acid, I think.
What are you going to do? Okay. 9 Pound Hammer's had a lot of success. In Europe, you guys do really well, but not Green Day type of success, not anything close. Have there ever been any internal conversations between you and Blaine, like maybe we should write something more mainstream?
No. I mean, man, we're perfectly 9 Pound Hammer, we are. We're just perfectly 9 Pound Hammer, and we're doing exactly what we were meant to do. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, we are people's favorite band, which is good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
totally.
And I don't know what the numbers are. Maybe 100,000 people out there in the world total, maybe more. Fat Boy's gotten like 2 million plays on Spotify.
Wow.
And that's fine. It enables us to, we can. We've been all over America, Canada, been Japan, and then do our thing in Europe. And, we've had songs on movie soundtracks and, the 12-Ounce Mouse. And
you got to voice.
Yeah,
you get to be a voice actor.
That happened. Matt Malero, plucked us out of the ether and did the theme song, and then I became a character.
Where did you record your voice parts?
So there was it's in the book. I flew down to Atlanta, and I was, the night before I'd partied so hard I could barely talk the next day and do my first recording, and it was pretty legendary. I was coughing and stammering and could barely talk, and he put that in the show, which is hilarious.
That show's weird.
And then we did we were able to do a song on the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie. So it's been, again, we're just B+, A-, bumping up into that deal. It's just, it's kind of like the Georgia Satellites. They had that one song, but otherwise, the year after Keep Your Hands to Yourself, they put out their best record. And there would be 50 people show up to their shows.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's just the way it is. It's not for everybody. And it's not supposed to be for everybody. You know what I'm saying? The Ramones didn't even get big, until they finally did Lollapalooza. Then they retire, and then now they're on the Mount Rushmore, as they should be.
And it's too late.
Or stand alone by themselves,
dead.
Because everything came out of that. Really, truly, everything came out of in 1974, the Ramones. But that's just the way it is. It's not. We don't want it to be for mass consumption. Maybe later, but it would lose its uniqueness. It would. It'd get watered down. And that's what you see now with Too Outlaw for Outlaw Country. Our beloved genre is getting watered down. And, for mass commercial appeal, what I call the jelly rollization of outlaw country of sorts. And,
let's listen to a song from Too Outlaw for Outlaw Country. This one features Sherry McGee on vocals, which is just now, so beautiful.
Now this did get, I think the Hound is playing this here and there. I was just over there. They were kind enough to play this, and hopefully, I think maybe it's getting played a few times. So
okay, great. Let's take a listen to it.
We'll have one final round before you put me in the ground. I've gotta let you down tonight. I let the
Scott, 9 Pound Hammer is sounding better than ever. Forgive me, but that's just incredible.
It only took 40 years for us to get pretty good.
Where did you record Too Outlaw for Outlaw Country?
This was this is like going on a 3-year project. We started off writing these songs in Mark's basement, sitting around a fireplace with acoustic guitars and a drum pad. This is a Blaine music. I wrote, helped do the melody and did the lyrics, but this is our version of quote unquote outlaw country, a little homage or tribute to Waylon and the Boys and all that, and this is just our version of it. And,
I absolutely
brought
love
in
it.
Sherry on the background, which the song was good. I was like, it needs something, and she was awesome, killed it, and
she's such a good singer.
And Earl's really good. Again, this is our natural state, really, is country western and all that, and yeah, we're now good enough, and Earl's a great guitar player and really can play that stuff really well.
All right, I've just got a couple more questions for you.
Yeah, man.
I read in the book and saw some pictures that you met Joey Ramone,
Yeah.
and you played. I think you played with Dee Dee Ramone.
We played with Dee Dee's band, the Chinese Dragons
So
at Bogarts,
the
and got
Ramones-
kicked out for having a beer in our dressing room that we brought in.
The Ramones they're your idols.
Yes, they're my Mount Rushmore.
What's
Yeah.
that like? They say never meet your heroes.
Oh, I mean, I didn't get to. So now the story's in there. We snuck. I was with my dear friend and girlfriend at the time, Kelly Gates, and we kind of snuck backstage. It was that Blonde. It was the Escape from New York tour with Tom Tom Club and Blondie and Ramones, and they played out at Kings Island at the amphitheater out there. And we kind of weaseled back there, and I was like, so we went out and got some food, and sitting there in the back, and the tour manager was like, "What are you doing back here?" And I went, "Eating broccoli," and he went. It was like Jedi mind trick on him. He was like, "Oh, okay." And so Joey's sitting across. I just knew not to, be all crazy and run up to him and do all that. So we just kind of just act like we knew what we were doing, And he's back there lacing up his an ankle brace on. It's true. He's always injured or sick or whatever. By the way, I just saw Rock and Roll High School at the State Theater. Yeah,
at the Kentucky Theater. Yeah, that's great, right?
Oh, it's so funny. I took my daughter. She's like, "This is stupid." I'm like, "Yeah, it's stupid. Of course, it's silly."
My sister made my daughter, who's the same age as yours, watch it as well.
Yeah.
And afterwards, she was like, trying to be nice. She's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, it was pretty good."
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
She's
I
like,
don't know.
"He's so freaky looking." I'm like, "Yeah, Joey." It's like, he's not cute. Like, because Riff Randall, PJ Soul's like, "Oh, he's so cute, beautiful," and she's like, "He's a freak. He's ugly." I'm like, "Well, it's."
But that's what made him cute.
I know. No, yeah, absolutely. And I did get a picture with
Was he cool to
Marky,
you?
and I mean, yeah, sure, nice. With him and Marky, and then I did meet. I had of course, a cassette with me, which I was going to try to, and I gave CJ Ramone was playing with him then, and I gave it to CJ, and who knows?
Yeah.
But that's my brush with the Ramones, But and another time we were in New York the night our van got ripped off, so we had all our equipment in this van parked outside the Continental in New York, 1993, 4. Goober and the Peas was playing, Jack White on drums, and
Holy hell.
yeah. And Joey Ramone was up by the door. He was in there hanging out. He hung out all the time. But and then our van got, I think it was an inside job with the doorman and the people out on the street.
That
but
sucks.
Blane's original Marshall head got stolen out of the van. And we went looking all night, running around New York, all the parks and trying to find it. And we did recover a few things, but man, it was pretty. And we had to steal gas on the way home from that trip. That's how. Yeah, that was there. It is. We had to steal gas in Mount Sterling to make it the final hour to get home on that trip.
The drive off.
Yep.
Pump and drive.
Yep.
Yeah. I
Yep.
used to work at a gas station.
Yeah.
You're the reason we all have to put our credit cards in
Here's
there
the
now.
thing. Well, I think we had like $5 or and some change. I gave them that. And that's back when you gave them that, and then I just put more in it, or whatever. Yeah.
So now, wow, geez, you've come so far. You're gearing up for a tour of Australia.
Yeah. So first time there. Some of the pre-sales are already sold out. Playing with can I say Nashville?
Yeah, it's a podcast.
Nashville Pussy and Super Suckers, dear friend, Blaine's in that. And that's what spawned when we did break up in '96. Of course, they do their own thing. Again, we're in the same. They're more hard rock metal strata than we are. Went out with Motorhead a lot and things like that. But again, they blend in. We have fans that like both bands. Super Suckers, big fans and friends with them over the years. Great bill, and it's just going to be, I could probably see that coming to the States. I'd say so. I mean, the States, though, I'm telling you, and then Blaine will tell you this too. It's just, don't get me wrong, they're hit or miss. It's still good to play here. It's just.
You don't get the same reception in America.
You don't get
for whatever reason.
You do in different places, special places, but there's still that slog. I mean, we just did a 2-week tour with this band from the Ramones of Australia, the Cosmic Psychos. Subject of a documentary that Eddie Vedder did, and it was a good tour, but it was a lot of work. It was. You would think like. Again, I might just be delusional, but it was well received. Like Detroit was great, Boston was great, but Memphis on a Thursday night, it's just the energy. It's just a different energy. I can't describe.
When you're playing in Europe and you're playing in front of thousands of people and they're going crazy for you.
They just, we just both, us and them just both played Shock Festival in Belgium, and, there were, thousands of people.
All right, my last question for you.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with 9 Pound Hammer. It got nothing to do with local music.
Okay.
But I think you might be the expert on this, but I have to preface this before I ask it. I'm the type of person, I hate this culture that we're in, the internet culture where you have to take sides and everybody... Now, I'm not talking about politics.
Yeah.
Okay, politics, yes, you should take a side. But I'm talking about everything else. I like Coke, you like Pepsi, so you can go to hell. Or I read Marvel Comics and you read DC Comics. I hope you die. I hate that. I like what I like, you like what you like, and that doesn't bother me at all. Except whenever I meet someone that has anything nice to say about Sammy Hagar being the lead singer in Van Halen,
bro,
I lose
fighting words.
all respect for that person.
Words.
Even if they just say, oh, yeah, Sammy was okay. No. If you think that, then I've got no use for you. Am I being too harsh?
No, you're not. I mean, I went and saw them in 2007 when they got back together, and there was this dude who had the audacity, with Dave, of course, to wear a Van Hagar shirt, to that show. And I mean, I was just, at the urinal next to him, I'm just like, I just went, really? And then so I don't try to argue online much anymore, especially with this recent stuff. Yeah, Dave, has fallen off and all that stuff, but
still great.
I will get in fights with people over Van Hagar and stuff. I will. And it's there's not it's not even the same universe. Man, there's no comparison whatsoever. Van Hagar is prom music.
Yes.
It's music for chicks, it is, And Dave was on Rogan, and he was, this is about 5 years ago, and he's like, the difference is, Sammy's "Why Can't This Be Love?" He goes, ain't talking about love.
That's right.
It's just, and I was thinking about, that kind of applies to 9 Pound Hammer. It's like, ain't talking about love. We're not this juicy, gooey, this stuff that's going on Outlaw now, singing about your girlfriend and sipping White Claw and all that stuff. This dress up cowboy stuff's like, no, this is the real deal, man. It's got mud on it. You know what I'm saying? And man, I'm glad you brought that up. I saw them in 1980. I saw Women and Children first in Louisville. I was 16. I drove from Owensboro, $8 ticket. Saw a Fair Warning tour twice. I saw a Diver Down tour twice. I saw 84 tour twice. And I mean, that 80 Invasion show changed my life. I mean, I was 16, and Women and Children first tour, and there was nothing like that. Now, they're on my Mount Rushmore with the Ramones. It can happen. Van Halen, Ramones.
100%. I'm glad I brought it up too.
Yeah, man.
And I'm glad you brought it back to 9 Pound Hammer, because you are the real deal. 9 Pound Hammer is as real as it gets, and I really appreciate you coming out here and telling me your story. And we didn't even scratch the surface. I didn't even get.
Maybe we'll do another part 2.
We have to do another one.
Yeah.
Okay, Scott, thank you so much.
Man, thank you, brother.
Don't forget that any song that you heard on the show tonight, you can hear in its entirety on our website at 859rewind.com. Also, follow me on Instagram at 859rewind. And as always, I want to thank Joe Conkright and everyone here at WUKY for making this show possible. Remember, every band is a local band somewhere, so go out and support your local music scene. Support your local musicians.